Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. It is Friday the 27th, and that means we are speaking with Stephen Dow. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing very well. Why don't you get that marketing thing out of the way? Because I got a very exciting topic.
Thank you, sir. Again, although I work happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, all the topics and ideas discussed on this channel are that of my own, and let's get it going.
So, Stephen, as you know, on my channel in the last 24 hours, I've talked about the CDC Eviction Moratorium going bye-bye. The Supreme Court stood up and said contract law matters. The U.S. Constitution matters. So, thankfully, we've gotten to this point. It took longer than all of us probably wanted, but we are here now. And as I've been thinking about this the last 24 hours, I just love sharing with people what I'm doing in my business. And I want to remind them, I think there's a way they can use creative financing, they can use seller financing, and most importantly, use a non-QM lender such as Velocity Mortgage. So I wanted to share a strategy that I plan to employ and see what you think about it.
Perfect.
So really what this boils down to is I'm trying to solve the riddle for a landlord who has suffered the last year, right? I'm thinking of a landlord that's had a fourplex or a 10 unit or something. And they basically had to take money out of their personal account to pay the bills, right? Because, stuff still broke. You still had to pay insurance. You still had to pay taxes. You probably still had to pay your mortgage. Right. It was a rough year for a lot of mom and pop landlords, right?
Agreed.
So a lot of them went into debt or borrowed from emergency funds or whatever it is. So what I am thinking about doing extensively is leveraging non-QM or Velocity Mortgage for the following kind of deal structure. I'm going to go, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I want to give you let's just pick on a $500,000 property. I want to give you, I don't know, $250,000 at closing. That's i.e. a first mortgage.
Right.
Then I'm going to ask you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, to take a second, in this case, up to 150 grand, because you have a limit of 80%, I believe.
Correct.
And then, oh, by the way, I'll bring in 100 grand or something like that. So what I'm really going to start to offer, and again, this will vary, is I'm thinking 50% firsts, 30% seconds, and 20% down. And
you got the numbers, brother, because all the stuff that we've been doing on your loans, now you see how you can kind of, play that out where like, wait a minute, if I structure these deals this way, it totally makes sense because given the rate, given the LTV structure, it makes sense. It's a win-win for everybody. The seller gets less of a hit for capital gains. You kind of get, a better leverage without having to pay as much interest because seller financing is always best. So it's a win-win, I think.
Yeah. And in theory, if the seller was okay with it, you could come in for a first at 30%. And they could carry a 50% second, right? Because you don't care how the ratio lines up.
Correct. Just so long as your 20% skin is in the game. Correct. 100%. You like that?
I do like that.
100%.
And again, right, seller financing, it's in my course. The reason that 30, 50, 20 makes sense is the seller walks away with cash day one, and then they have a large second, like 50% of the deal. That they're kind of delaying taxes, right? Because that would be called an installment loan. Check with your CPA. We have a CPA.
And they're making money off of it. They're playing the bank.
Right. They're a bank. And what do you get as a bank? You get a monthly check, right? And I think that's because, again, I think a lot of people looking at what's going to happen over the next 4 months, landlords with evictions, turnover, higher taxes next year, they're going to want to sell. I think a lot of people are going to think that means cash. And I think being a cash buyer is great if the seller's just totally fed up, right? I'm out. I'm so done, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Fire sale.
I think a lot of these landlords are like, I've had this for 30 years. I need that little check every month. I count on it. And oh, by the way, they don't want to pay higher taxes. So, right, depreciation, recapture, all of these things. So I think this is going to be a pretty cool strategy to leverage that conversation, right? Do you want, like, again, let's take this $500,000 unit. Sure. If you want cash, I'll give you I'm making this up, $425, $450, right? You get a discount for cash.
Right.
Or I could pay $550 and you take this back, and I bring in, 20% in this case. So
correct.
I think there's a lot of ways that you can use creative financing and a non-QM lender to do some pretty special deals. What do you think?
That's 100% correct. I mean, again, allow yourself a lot of flexibility in how you approach different sellers, right? Everybody has different motivations. So you just have to have that more in-depth conversation to really kind of dig deeper to figure out a win-win kind of strategy for both seller and buyer. So there's always definitely a way, but with the non-QM lender, it makes it much easier to try to come up with those strategies. Otherwise, with conventional or even hard money, the numbers don't quite always make sense, and or the process doesn't allow you to.
Yeah, the bank's not going to do this deal. The bank won't do this deal. Yeah, yeah. And again, these are just, and they're faster, right? You're going to get them done in 3 or 4 weeks.
Correct.
It's kind of like when you're a 30 or 40% first position, that's a pretty easy loan to do.
That's cookie cutter. We're pushing those to the front of the line. I mean, please give me more of those, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So again, folks, if you're in this business, I think you're going to have a unique opportunity because of what's happened the last year. There are lots of landlords that are stressed out. Again, why I think this makes sense is I can see the landlords going, damn, I took 50 grand out of my X account.
Right.
I need to replenish that, or I need a vacation or whatever. So a little now, carry loans to lower taxes. I think it's win-win for everybody. So I'm glad that you agree. So I wasn't sure.
Well, I mean, again, we're not everything to everybody, and given certain circumstances, we definitely can, help out. So with that specific strategy, 100%, I think that's a winner. So we're already kind of doing similar transactions like that already.
Yeah.
It's just that you kind of already figured out the strategy given the circumstances and how to motivate sellers.
And again, this could be a single family home, a fourplex, an apartment, a portfolio. It doesn't matter, right? If I found a landlord in Fresno that wanted to sell 100 units across 12 properties, we could figure out a way to do a deal like this.
Correct.
I'm pretty excited. Okay, very cool. Well, if folks want to talk to you about this in their area, how do you want them to reach out?
Email is the best. I do apologize, slight delay from last weekend. I was at a conference, so I didn't get around to replying to a couple people for at least a couple of days. So I do apologize for that. But normally I try to reply right then and there. Some people get surprised, like, I just sent you the email. I didn't think you were going to call me right back. So I just always say that small little window, I was available for you. So I might as well make the effort then, because I might not be able to have that window in the next 15 minutes. So yeah, email sdow@velocitymortgage.com.
Yeah, and it's in the email or video description. So, Stephen, this has been a lot of fun. I'm going to use this strategy, see what happens. Others should at least try it, or at least understand it.
Right.
In episode number 2, we're going to talk about what you and I have seen in the lending environment over our history. There's a talk track around rates that I think people don't understand. So, Stephen, thank you very much, buddy.
Appreciate you, brother.
Mm-hmm.